Hello and welcome to my channel. This is the first in my Easter 2018 card series. This card design features several techniques which I'll go over one by one. We're going to be doing some embossing, some die cutting, and a little bit of watercoloring. All those techniques together come to create this simple card design, and I hope you'll try this card yourself. Let me move this out of the way and we can start in with this card. The inks I'll be using today is Distress Ink Dusty Concord, Versafine Onyx Black, and these three Memento inks, Pear Tart, Peanut Brittle, and London Fog. I'm also going to be using some shimmer watercolor paints. I got this palette from Amazon. This is Yatsutomo. The stamps and dies I'm going to be using today is going to be a Next Level Embossing Folder by We Are Memory Keepers. This embossing folder is different than your standard ones. It impresses very deeply and intricately, and it gives an almost 3D effect. This is a different sandwich required for this embossing folder than your standard ones, and I'll go through that. I'm going to be using the stitch framelits that I got from Amazon, no company associated with that. The Stampin Up Stitch Shapes framelits. This comes in squares and ovals and circles. I'm going to be using the Crazy About You stamp set and the Papillion Potpourri stamp set by Stampin Up. Also, I'll be using these two punches. This is the Elegant Butterfly and the Small Butterfly from Stampin Up. For the embellishments, I'm using some thin green ribbon, some very small pearls, and some rhinestones. And the tools that I'm going to be needing today is glue dots, 2 water brushes, and some daubers. Okay, it looks like a lot, but it's really not complicated to put this card together. Let me move this out of the way and start right in. I also should have mentioned that I have a wooden stamp set from Stampin' Up called All That I Have Seen. This is the flower from that and the sentiment. Okay, let's move that out the way. I'm going to start off with the watercoloring. Now these colors are activated by water. This is a paste, a hard paste. So I'm going to just spray a little bit of water in, not too much, because I don't want it to get too constituted. And I'm going to bring in the London Fog. I'll put that away. So this piece of paper, I'm going to get all the front elements from, so I have to be a little bit mindful of where I am stamping on this paper. So let's see, my gray is a little dry. So I want to go upper corner for the flower. Okay, I think that's good enough. And I'm going to take my brush, and I need a little bit more water in there. And I'm going to color an area on the paper where I'm going to punch this butterfly. So I just need to be sure that I'm giving enough area for the punch to cover, and I'm pretty sure this is enough. I'm trying to leave some whirly bits in here to give a little texture for the finished punch. I also have some water here in the brush and some paper towel to clean it. So you just give a squeeze and it cleans one color out. Okay, now I'm going to color this flower and stem. Just drop the color right on top of the gray. I mentioned this is watercoloring, but it is so little effort in here, it's almost a shame to even mention it. But it is what it is, right? You could also do this with markers if you didn't want to bother with the watercoloring, but as you see, it's so very fast. And now I'm pick up the green. all done. Clean that out. Now I want to also bring an area for the greeting, but I want that to be a combination of, I need another palette here, gray and silver, because I want it to be a little darker than my silver alone will be. So I'm putting a little bit of the London Fog on my palette here. I'll pick this silver up, get a good bit, and now I'm going to bring in a little bit of that gray and make it a little darker, and just going to go across here. Okay, clean this also. Another thing I need is my butterfly, which I almost forgot. So I'm going to stamp him real quick. And he's going to be right here. All right, and for the butterfly, I'm going to make him a little bit of purple. And let's see, I think I'll also make him a little peach in the center. And also pick up some of the green. And I'll try to blend them all together with the silver. Let's see if this gets an interesting look. There's no right way or wrong way with this. I'm just putting some color here. And it will be very iridescent when all is said and done. A little bit more peach, I think. Okay. Now I'm going to hit this with my heat tool real quick so everything will dry out. Okay, now move on to the next thing. Now that that's dry, I'm going to stamp my sentiment in this gray area. So I've had the Happy Easter from that stamp set, and I'm just going to stamp it right in about the center. Okay, that's good. All right, now the next step. Now the sandwich for the Next Level Embossing folder on my Big Shot, this will change depending on your own machine, is the platform. I have the magnetic platform, but if you had the multi-purpose platform, close all the tabs. That's the same thing as the magnetic platform. So you have your, set that aside, your embossing folder, and you put your paper inside. Make sure this one, I have to make sure that it is straight because there's a pattern to it. Okay, make sure the paper doesn't move, and only one cutting plate, just one, because this is thicker, and just run it right through. If you find that your paper is tearing when you do this, then you may want to lift one of the tabs. But this works just fine for my machine. And there we are. It's a very deep impression. Okay, set that aside. Now back to the regular cutting. I'm going to start cutting out all the different parts. So I'll need the smaller square for this, the smaller rectangle for the sentiment, and I'll do this and I'll be right back. To get the smaller mats for the front, I'm using the outer mat to do that. And as long as you push your die cuts within the outer margin so that the cuts don't show, you can do some paper saving techniques with this method. So let me run this through and we'll move on. Now to get my butterflies, I'm going to punch this out, and this punch goes right up against the stamping, so there is almost no white area. Just take your time and line it up. Also, I'm bringing in a piece of white, and I'm going to get a couple more of these white butterflies because I want to stack them so they have a little bit more substance. So I think I can get 3 out of this. Yep. All right. And for the small one, I'm just going to go with just the one. That's fine. Just center it in there. And there we go. All right, now I'm going to grab my Tombow and stack these dies up and glue them together. So it'll just take a second. You can always create your own embellishments this way when you have punches and die cuts, just by stacking them. And you want to use a liquid glue for this and not tape, unless you're really sure that you can get it lined up really good, because once you use tape, once they touch, then they're pretty much going to get set up. Whereas the liquid glue, you have a couple of extra seconds to fiddle with it and get it to move to where you need it to be. Okay, just line it up, give it a good press. And I bent his little foot, but that's fine. All right. Now it has a little bit of extra height to it without bothering with an intricate foam cutting piece. Now I'm going to bring in my dauber, and I'm going to cover that up so it doesn't dry out. I'm going to do the edges of the 2 butterflies to give them a little bit more color. Okay, now the rest is just going to be putting everything together. So I'm going to let the music play and assemble everything. All right, that's the finished card. It went together really quick. Even though I had a lot of materials here, it really was an easy card design. I really hope that you try to get your hands on the We Are Memory Keepers Next Level Embossing Folder. It adds a lot of depth to your work and your project. If you didn't have the punches for the Papillion Potpourri, or if you didn't have this particular butterfly set, you can use whatever butterflies you had. It doesn't change the design in any way. I hope you will try this simple card. I hope you are enjoying my videos. As I said, this is the first in a series of Easter cards. You can check out my channel and you can see the cards that I've done earlier in the year for St. Patrick's Day, Valentine's Day, and also Christmas from last year. Please subscribe to my channel. There's a lot of really interesting content on there and I hope you're enjoying it. And I'd like to thank my brother David for the music that he's providing. There are music interludes from my videos and I really am very thankful for his help and assistance as I put out these projects. Thank you everyone and have a great day. Take care.